Hello, I am Xarkun, and today we are going to go over the patch notes for the January 2023 update. This is going to be a short update, and I'm just going to cover the patch notes by showing you the advanced draft that Wargaming sends to the community contributors. As you can see, this draft totals about 5 pages, and one of them is just a breakdown of the campaign. So we don't have a lot to work with here. The update drops on Monday, January 16th, so a couple days from now. It's going to last for 2 weeks, and basically, this is all it includes. A campaign that rewards you with a Super Santa crate at the end, 2 seasons of the Brawl mode. Sap shells are now coming as an option for the Italian tech tree cruisers. French destroyers are getting a glorious balance change. That's the thing I'm most excited about. And there's a new ship. So let's get into it. We'll see what it's all about. First up is the campaign, The Fighting Spirit. Use this code here, by the way, and you'll get a Secret Santa 2023 crate and some other goodies. But basically, this campaign, available for 2 weeks. It's got not as many milestones as other campaigns in the past have, because it's so short. The very first milestone will reward you with 1,250 doubloons if you already have the Admiralty backing. So I assume the Admiralty backing still costs the 2,500 doubloons. You get half that back once you get the first milestone, so I guess you get a 50% discount. And at the end of things, you get a Super Santa crate, and you get all these goodies along the way. Very underwhelming campaign, certainly one that you could skip out, and only 2 weeks long. Definitely not the highlight of this update, but what else is coming? 2 seasons of Brawls. Season 4, apparently, is all about battleships with increased damage and increased dispersion. How intriguing. Cruisers will define the outcome of Season 5, and their damage, main battery, and consumable reload time, and other stats will be boosted. Season 4 begins on January 19th, a couple days after the update. I think that'll be, Thursday? Then we've got at least one new ship, American Tier 7 Premium Cruiser Rochester, with super heavy AP shells, high speed, and excellent firing angles, allowing you to rain steel and fire down upon your foes. This new American cruiser has a very neat combo of features. She's also equipped with sonar and smoke generator. That's intriguing. You can find her in the store starting on January 16th. Well, I suppose we will in fact have a new ship to play for the update then. I will of course be streaming when the update drops, and for once, I actually don't have to work that day. It is in fact a paid holiday, so there's no necessarily time limit on my stream, I suppose. Other than this, because as you can see, there's not a lot of meat and potatoes here. We've got some balance changes, and I think we'll go into detail about what those are because I can show them to you. I actually have the list. All it says here is that French DDs are getting a rework. SAP is being given to the Tech Tree Italian cruisers. HE shell logic is being reworked. And they are upholding the tradition of buffing Vanguard again with the addition of improved HE penetration to her shells. Well, I suppose that is probably a consequence of the thing here, the overall HE logic rework, but that's quite amusing. Then, of course, there are some bug fixes, none of which I think are necessarily worth highlighting, just a bunch of little things. But as far as the balance changes, because really this is the most substantial part of the update, let's take a look. Starting with this French destroyer rework. This is something that I've wanted to see happen for a long time. If you've been following my channel, then you'll note that over the past year, I might have complained a time or two about the French destroyers, and the content of those complaints had to do with the fact that they were sort of butchered in their translation from PC to console. They did not maintain the same core identity that they have on that PC game in the way that other ships do. They were sort of neutered by the fact that their gun performance was not so great, and part of the reason it was not so great is because they were saddled with only one main battery reload booster consumable. Now they are going to be saddled with 2 at base, which is a huge improvement because really it's this main battery reload booster that allows the French destroyer line to be effective gunboats, at least on PC. So it's nice to see that all of them are getting more than 1 main battery reload booster, so in this way it doesn't feel like sort of a useless gimmick the way it does now. At least I think so. In any case, the main flavor of the rework to the French destroyers, you can sort of see it here on the screen. I'm not going to read every single one of these changes, because there's a lot, as you can see, to each of the ships, but the main crux of it, I suppose, if we take a look at the Kleber, the legendary tier French destroyer, they're all getting an extra charge of the main battery reload booster. The duration on the main battery reload booster is being increased from 15 to 20 seconds, so that means it's active for longer, and you've got that 50% reduced reload for 20 seconds rather than 15. And beyond that, with the changes to the reload booster and the duration of the consumable, some of these French destroyers get buffs to their maximum HE and AP shell damage, I think from Le Fantasque and down in the tiers. And then some of them have changes to the reload time of the cooldown for their reload booster consumables at the lower tiers. But the thing that they all share is that the torpedoes generally in some way are getting nerfed. For example, on Kleber, the reload speed is nerfed from 77 to 85 seconds, and the maximum damage is nerfed from 18,400 to 17,200. I don't know that that's really necessary, but I suppose if you are going to increase the efficacy of the guns, it makes sense to decrease the efficacy of the torpedoes. Either way, though, I say overall this is a fantastic change. Some people out there won't think so, but I've said it before, I will say it again. Guns on a destroyer are far more important and influential to a battle than torpedoes are, because guns are not subject to the same chance, the same RNG, the same luck. They are not, they are much more consistent than torpedoes. Let's just say a shell takes like 5 seconds to travel through the air and reach its target. A torpedo might take more like 50 seconds, and, well, just think about how long it takes for a ship to maneuver and dodge away from something, and you can kind of see why guns are more important, at least in my view, than torpedoes. Beyond the French destroyers, we've got the Italian tech tree cruisers. They are getting the same module that is available to a lot of the premium cruisers, where it takes their shells, it replaces the high explosive with SAP, or semi-armor piercing. So finally, these cruisers can shoot SAP and AP the way they are meant to, although bizarrely, the reload times are being increased, which makes absolutely no sense to me, because as far as I can tell, when these Italian cruisers were added to the game with only high explosive and armor piercing, their reloads were still balanced for guns that shot SAP. And by that I mean, well, the reload time was ridiculously long. What did the Montecuccoli have at Tier 4? It was like 14 seconds or something, with 152mm shells that shot HE. Come on. The Königsberg at Tier 4 has 150mm guns that reload in 7 seconds. Why was the reload time doubled for the Montecuccoli? Did it have fantastic HE? No, it did not have fantastic HE. It was balanced for SAP. So I have no idea why they're increasing the reload, but at least the Italian cruisers are getting SAP, and that is pretty juicy indeed. Then as far as the rest of the balance changes, this HE penetration logic. So previously, you would calculate your HE penetration by taking your shell in millimeters and dividing by 6 most of the time. But from that answer, your shell in millimeters divided by 6, you would have to subtract 1. That would give you the value of the armor threshold that your HE can penetrate. Now, they are getting rid of that -1 rule, so if you take your shell caliber and divide by 6, unless you are German or British, in which case you might divide by 4, then you've got your answer. You don't have to subtract 1 anymore. This essentially means that light cruisers armed with 6-inch or 152mm guns are going to be able to penetrate 25mm of armor now, whereas previously they could only penetrate 24. And that is significant, because 24 is not an armor plating value you're going to see in this game. Everything is going to have 25, 26, or 27, so suddenly a lot of ships that rely on HE are going to be able to do more consistent damage, and you may think that is a good thing or a bad thing. If you think it's a bad thing, my advice is, as always, move your fucking battleships. That's my advice. And then as far as the rest of the changes, miscellaneous. Well, for whatever reason, the Vanguard is getting another buff. It's already fantastic. High explosive shell penetration is being increased from 64 to 95mm, so I think the time has finally come, and we may be able to safely say that the Vanguard was buffed into the best battleship at Tier 7. I have no idea. This is like, what, the 7th buff? 6th? 8th? Who knows? I have no idea. If you know, let me know in the comments, because I am genuinely curious, but really, that is all there is to cover on these patch notes, so hope you found this useful. You can find a link to the patch notes in the description of this video if you want to read them for yourself. Give the video a like, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.